Well, our other big story, a proposal by Delhi University to simplify the college admissions process has got principals of Delhi colleges rather upset. DU says the new rules, which do with pre-admission forms, will mean less running around for students who come to Delhi University from around the country. College principals, many of them say there will be chaos.
Come summer, long and killing pre-admission queues snake around Delhi University campus. This year, students can stay home.
Earlier, a student had to fill a form much before the cutoffs were announced, and he could fill the OMR central form of the university or the forms of the colleges. And then the cutoffs would be announced. Now he doesn't have to either fill the OMR or the college forms. We've taken that away.
The new procedure will be announced shortly, and colleges will reveal cutoff lists in June.
In such a system where you only have to declare a cutoff and you have to admit everybody who is above that cutoff, there is absolutely no need for a pre-admission form. You know, every year about 4 lakh forms are printed, and it is not serving much use.
In one swipe, Delhi University has done away with red tape and made colleges announce number of seats and cutoff marks that may in the long term reduce attempts of backdoor entry. With Anand Paliga, Ume Kulsum, NDTV.
Well, joining me now in studio is Delhi University's Vice Chancellor Dinesh Singh. Thank you very much for taking time out, sir, and joining me tonight. I'm sure the whole day today you've been plagued with questions and phone calls. So explain to all the students who watch us, because Delhi University is India's biggest university. To all the students who watch us, tell us why this change and what you think it will achieve.
Well, it's just going to make things easier, primarily for the student, but also for the colleges and the university at large. All we have done is, we haven't altered anything, just taken away the pre-admission form. That was a superfluous document. It's just needless paperwork that makes no difference to the procedure by which students are admitted. Now, students will not have to run from college to college prior to the announcement of cutoffs. That's all there is to it. So it saves them a huge amount of labor and effort.
So I guess the whole process is students, but who may question that if they fill out a form, if they talk about the extracurricular activities, they hope that there's always a chance beyond those cutoffs, which seem to get impossibly higher every year. Is there no provision at all for any other aspect rather than cutoffs being looked at for admissions?
No. So let me make this clear. The extracurricular, the sports, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, quotas will be untouched. The procedures will be the same as before. This is for the vast majority that's outside these categories. They are going to now benefit by this system. That's a huge number. So it's for them really.
Why the opposition?
There isn't. We met, my colleagues and I met with all college principals yesterday, and I admit that there was some concern and they asked many queries. The meeting lasted about 3 hours. And at the end of it, they seemed to be perfectly okay, and there isn't. We haven't put this down in writing yet. This was a sort of sounding announcement, and we will do this by Monday. And then I'm very sure that all concerns and all issues will be sorted out by it.
What have been the main objections, the main queries that have come to you? What have been the main objections?
Well, they said, how do we know that when we announce the cutoff, our seats will not be overflooded? You see, will completely taken in by huge numbers. But then we're not touching the processes that you use for determining cutoffs. They're going to be exactly what you did in the past. So we don't see why that will happen. That's all there is to it. It's as simple as that. There's no rocket science here. Take my word for it. It's just that.
You know that in India, change is always a process which has to be pushed down someone's throat, as it were.
I'm learning that the hard way.
You learn. But tell me, in the few months you've taken over as Delhi University Vice Chancellor, there seem to have been the winds of change. Now, one very controversial issue has been something which you inherited in a way, is the policy to push through the new semester system. Now, that's really had people up in arms. We've seen protests, we've seen students, we've seen teachers out in protest. What is the latest status of that? Will it affect students' academics adversely?
On the contrary, again, it's going to benefit the student. You see, even in this limited manner in which we are bringing about the first phase of the semester system, the student will benefit in many, many ways. And let me assure you that we are almost done with the process. There's just minor hiccups here and there, which we are very, very confident we will overcome in the days to come. How will it benefit the student? Number one, the student will not have to study for a whole year and then let an exam determine his future. Smaller chunks, so the student is allowed to focus more on a subject, you see, less of memorizing, more time to understand. Then there is a certain amount of freedom the student gets. So in addition to his main subject, he also gets the freedom, which is what we hope to implement even in this limited fashion, to learn a little bit in greater depth of another subject. So there is so much more that will happen for the student. You know, it's much better system.
What has been the biggest challenge for you so far, sir? In your few months as Delhi University Vice Chancellor, you're trying to bring in a new way of functioning. What has been the biggest challenge for you so far?
Well, getting the university to move in no matter which direction and howsoever. It's such a huge entity. You know, our emblem has the elephant on it. And it reminds me of an elephant, you know. So there is always, you know, a little bit of lag between what happens to the trunk and what happens to the tail. So there is this issue here. But we're trying to tone up the processes. We're trying to give clear direction. And that's my challenge, to give the university a clear-cut direction so that it meets the needs of an emergent India. Are we in tune with what India needs and what the student aspires for? I don't believe we have been doing too much of that. And I believe now we can with the introduction of the semester system.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dinesh Singh, for joining us and being as accessible. And I'm sure any student has a question, he can come and ask you, because I know your doors are always open. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us tonight to clarify some of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a delight.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.